This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Today is day one of our Azure DevOps journey. So, today we are going to have a gentle introduction kind of discussion because yesterday, as part of the demo discussion, I was explaining about the agenda, the course curriculum, and all. So, today we are going to start the actual DevOps journey. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. This is UV. I'll be your trainer for the next 40 hours of training. So, where we will be discussing all the topics which I've told in the yesterday's demo. So, I just show a screen to you so that you will look familiar, like you will feel familiar with this, because this is the screen we are going to use in our Azure DevOps journey. The screen which you are looking, okay, this is a screen for the Azure. If you are going to become a Azure DevOps person, then obviously your day in day out you will be dealing with this particular portal which is called Azure portal. So in this screen only we will be doing the infrastructure related aspect, like if you want to create any machine, if you want to create a storage, if you want to do some network activities, everything we will be doing in the screen only. So I'll be guiding you like how you can create your free account and how you can work on this and all the free trial, like 30 days free trial option, how we can offer, how efficiently you can use. So those and all I'll be sharing with you. This is the account I'll be using for the training purpose. And apart from that, we will be using one more portal because this is the Azure portal. If you are the person who is going to do the infrastructure administration kind of thing, then this portal is more than fine. But what we are up to, we are into the DevOps journey. So for the DevOps, we should do a lot of things related to the operations also. Our CI/CD pipeline, boards we need to understand, and that Git, the version control, repository related aspects and all we have to understand. So what we are going to do is we are going to use one more portal which is called the Azure DevOps portal. Okay, so this is how my portal will look like. So this is a screen. Anyhow, don't worry. I'll be telling like how you can go to this portal, this URL informations and all. I'll be sharing. It is too early for this, but I want to give an introduction to you because what are the screens we are going to discuss, how we are going to discuss. So that is the reason I have shown these two sites to you. So this is a site where you will have your boards. So we will be discussing about like what are the different type of projects we can create, how you can track your project designs, the feature related aspects and all. And we will be discussing on the repository related aspect, that is version controls, and other code management aspects and all we will be discussing here. Then the pipeline. So in the course curriculum I have mentioned two type of pipeline. One is the traditional, the on premises pipeline using Jenkins, how you can do, so that I have mentioned. But for Azure they have a dedicated pipeline, the CI/CD pipeline option is there. So if you are the person who is going to work as a Azure DevOps person, then this is the screen we will be using for the pipeline creation. Again, in the pipeline creation, there is two pipelines are there. One is your CI pipeline, another one is your CD pipeline. So both the things we'll be discussing. Artifact related aspects also will be discussing in the screen. So these two screens we will be working a lot. Apart from that, as I told you yesterday, DevOps means it is not just only your pipelines. Okay, so a lot of aspect nowadays market is expecting. So in terms of containerization, in terms of infrastructure as a code, you should be comfortable with that. So apart from that, I do guide you in terms of your Terraform and the Docker's containerization aspect also, the Kubernetes and all. So with no delay, so initial one or two sessions I'll be dealing move with the presentation kind of thing, because I came to know that some of the students are not from the cloud background or not from this uh, IT background. I would say that they are like stepping towards it, or somebody or purely from the testing background. So for those kind of students, I want to give them the base information strongly, so that it will be easy for them when I go and say like how you can create your virtual machine, so how you can produce like create your storage account, means that time you will have some clear understanding. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start like considering that you are nowhere into the operations, you are nowhere into the development aspect, you are someone who is not at all in the development, who is not at all in the operations as of now. So by taking that consideration, we are going to have some basic discussions today, because when I say DevOps, you should know like without DevOps how we perform, right? So that is the one we are going to discuss today. So first of all, many of you, I believe, like you will have like few years of experience in IT. It can be a testing, or it can be in another aspect of IT. So by considering that, some of you might have some understanding about our process, our software lifecycle process. You might be from a testing background, but sure you will be aware of few of the concept which I'm going to discuss now. But still, let me reiterate, let me tell from the basis, so that you can understand clearly. So when we start, that is that time there was no DevOps. Okay, when we start our journey 2 decades back, that time and all there was no DevOps concept. We were doing some process, but we didn't tag it as DevOps. We were doing this operations, we were doing this development, but we didn't tag it as DevOps and all. The terminology we didn't use. What we have done. So let's take, it's like a small story kind of thing. Say I have a customer. Let me call it as client one. The client one has approached, and they told that I have to build one application, an e-commerce application, and that e-commerce application I want to uh, make it run. Okay, it's a web-based application, for example. Instead of desktop, let me take as a web application. So web application I want to create. So what we do is, first we will work with the client, we will gather the requirement. So requirement gathering means we will first understand what type of application they want, what are the features they want, how many users they are planning to use this, like how many users at a time they will log in, what are the functionality they are looking for. So whether they are going to use it as a intranet application or internet application. So many questions we will raise, and we will come to a conclusion about the requirement. So why we are asking all this question is, we have to design the application. So when you are coming to the designing part, if you have the requirement properly, you can design it. So my requirement, once it is freezed, then only we will start the design part. So once the requirement is freezed, then the next step we will start, and we will go into the design. So what we will do, based upon the information gathered in the previous step, I'll be doing the design. So once the design is completed, I will say like, okay, this has less number of users. So I am going to build this application in such a way that I will deploy it in 1 or 2 servers only. I don't need lot of servers, because the usage is limited. So I don't need like hundreds of machines here. 1 or 2 machines would be fine. And how we can deploy, how we can install everything, I'll design everything upfront. And finally, I'll come to the implementation. Implementation means, for our understanding, let's consider that as a development phase. Okay, so I will develop this particular application. It can be a .NET or it can be a Java. So I did some development. Once I did the development, I have to validate the functionality. I should verify, because what is the customer requirement, the client one requirement, whether I fulfilled everything. So what I'll do some testing. I'll verify the implementation. So once it is all verified, once I get a sign off from the testing team that is all working fine, no issue, it is working as per the customer expectation, then what I will do is I will deploy that into the production environment, that is the live environment, so that the end user can actually use it. So far what I did, I implemented, I verified everything in the testing phase. It is internally either the developer or tester only using it. But in the final stage, once I deploy to the production environment, the actual environment, the end users were using. So these many steps, I would say these are the high level. There are a lot of sub level steps are there. But at that high level, these 4 to 5 steps we do for sure. And these 4 to 5 steps will take 3 months to 6 months. So this is how we work. So even if I want to add a small button in my screen, so I have a web application already available. In the web application, there is a section called feedback. Okay, so I'm getting the feedback from customer. So far, customer was doing some comments typing only. I like the product. I don't like the product. Something they are typing. But what I felt is like I can add one more feature called a star rating. So if I want to add the simple feature of star rating, I cannot push the change just like that. I have to wait for 3 months to 6 months, because before this DevOps model, we were following a model called waterfall model, which is nothing but I cannot directly get into the actual output. I have to go through all these phases. So even if it is a small, the star rating update I'm doing in my screen, a small change in my web application, I have to go through all these phases. And all these phases are maintained by different set of people. Requirement gathering would be from different team. They will gather the requirement and they will give it to the design team. Design team would be different. They will be from different time zone, so they will create the design, they will give it to the developers. Developers would be from different geographic location, different time zone they will be working. They will do all this work, then they will. So this is the way we were working 2 decades back, where everything is sequential. I cannot skip any particular stage. I have to go through all this stage one after the other. That is why we named it as waterfall model. Even if it is a small button change or small text change in my web application, instead of saying hi customer in the screen, if I want to make it as hello customer, even for this text change, I have to wait for 3 months to 6 months. So that is why this is really complex. It impacts a lot in terms of business. So this pushed us toward a improved model. So we were using a waterfall model, and this waterfall model made us to find a new, better solution, because nobody is ready to wait for 6 months to get a small change in the screen. So what we did is we approached a new change called agile methodology. So this agile methodology is nothing but we were doing the same changes, like whatever the requirement gathering, design, everything we were doing, but we are not doing it for 3 months or 6 months of time. We came into the model that we deliver things in a shorter time frame. So 2 week sprint, 4 week sprint. So we designed it, we time framed everything. Within 2 weeks, I have to complete all the cycles. The cycle is nothing but I will plan, I will design, I will develop, I'll test it, then I'll deploy to the production, and finally I'll review. This whole cycle, what I am doing, I'll doing everything in the sprint cycle. So some company following 2 week sprint, some company following 4 week sprints. So this is how the evaluation came into picture. So we thought that okay, instead of waiting for 3 months or 6 months, let's reduce the timeline so that the immediate impact I can see the screen. So I told the star rating I added, right? So I added the star rating into the web application. But some customer may like it, some customer may not like it. So how I'll understand the customer review? If I launch the application, if customers start using it, then only I'll come to know whether it is attracted by the customer or not. If I make 6 months of time to have a small change and I came to know that customer doesn't like the feature, then again 6 months I have to wait to remove the feature. So 1 year of time I'm wasting in those small changes. To avoid it, we came into the sprint concept, the agile methodology, where we have a group of people. Again, the agile team might be from 8 to 12 or 8 to 14. We will have a team, and this group of people will work in such a way that they will deliver the product quickly. They won't wait for this 3 months of process or 6 months of process. They deliver the product shortly, so that they will immediately come to know whether the feature I'm adding into my application is attracted by the customer or the customer doesn't like it. So if something goes wrong, I can revert it back. So it is a faster time to market, and testing quality is really good here, because immediately I'll come to know what is the requirement. Because in the waterfall model, sometimes people will forget also what is the customer requirement, what and all customer actually expected also we may forget. But it's shorter time frame in the sprint concept. So same set of thing I'm going to deliver, but if I have 10 features needs to be delivered in the waterfall model, what I'll do, I will club all the 10 features together, and I will do a deployment once in 3 months. But in the sprint concept, I will split the 10 features into two features or three features for each and every sprint, and I will finish that features or three features or two functionalities alone in the particular sprint, and I will deliver it. So, but the testing will be a quality one, and we will have a risk reduction, because all 10 features at a time, if I'm deploying, in that only one feature is not working, what I have to do, I have to revert back all the 10 features, because the 9 features are working, but still only one feature is failing in the production, means we cannot just remove that particular feature. We have to remove all the 10. But in the case of sprint, I'm moving only with one or two features only, right? So obviously if it is not working, it is not going to impact the business much. So agile methodology came into picture. Now only the boom came in the market. That is, I know I have to deliver the product immediately. That is, within 3 weeks I have to deliver. But how it is really possible? Because we are not compromising on the steps. Whatever I told you in the previous step, that is your waterfall model, the same set of things you have to do in the agile methodology also. Here also you have to collect your informations, you have to do the development, you have to do the testing, implementation, deployment, all the aspect you have to do. But you have limited time frame. You're not going to wait for 3 months or 6 months of time here. So then only the DevOps concept come into picture. Because when we started our journey, what we do is we have our development team, and we have a separate operation team. So what we do, developers will concentrate only on the development of the product or the application. And once it is all developed, we will hand over the compiled code to the operation team. So what operation team do? We have no clue. Where and all they are deploying, what is the error they are getting, what is the script they are using, we have no clue. Same thing on the operation side also. Operation team, what we know only on the package. I have a package. For the package to work, what and all script I have to write, I'll write. After deploying the product to the live environment, if something is not working, I don't know how to fix it. I have to call the developer. Hey, developer, you gave me a code. I deployed it. It's not working. Can you please come online? Can you please fix it? Here only we have the problem. Most of the time, developers or the actual script created people would be on the offshore, and the operation team would be on the onshore. Different time zone, people may not available immediately. If something goes wrong in the live, then the real production environment, lot of challenges would be there. Developer would have told something in their own terminologies and techniques and handed over the code to the operation team. Operation team, with their understanding, they took the code and they are deploying into the production environment. But finally what will happen? Miscommunication, gap. It may end up in creating challenge in the production environment. Most of the cases, this is what has happened. The other thing is time zone mismatch or the unavailability of the resource. Developer might available in one time, or the operation may not be available, because in those days, operation team, it's like a pool of people supporting different application. They are not meant for only one application. The same operation team person will be supporting application one, application two, multiple application they will be supporting. So getting their availability for debugging, getting their availability for deployment and all was challenging. though the developer completed his code, he have to wait for the availability of the operation team to fix it. So this is how we had a lot of challenges with the traditional deployment. So now the thought came, that is, I want to implement the agile technology. That is, I want to deploy the code immediately into the live environment. I don't need to really wait for 2 weeks or I don't need to really wait for 3 months of time. But if I want to adopt it, I have to come across all these challenges, how I can overcome all those challenges. Then only the DevOps concept came into picture. So suddenly we all got a meeting and they said like, there is no separation called developers and operation team going forward. We are all going to work as a single team, that is called DevOps team. A developer should know the operation task. An operation team should be capable of doing the some of the development task also. It is not like they are going to do a development, but if some issue come into the code, they should know how to debug it. So they told that it is the combination. Going forward, we are going to bring in a new role called DevOps engineer. The role of the DevOps engineer is they neither a developer nor a operation person, is a combination of both these things. So then we were asking a lot of questions. So it is like additional work or what we are going to do, why we are bringing in. Then the definition come into picture. Whatever activity I was telling you in the before slide, that is, I have to plan, that is requirement gathering, design, everything I'm doing, right? I will do a plan, and once I do the plan, I will do the coding for that plan, like whatever requirement I receive from the client, I will do the coding. Then once my code is developed, I have to compile the code, I have to build the code, because it is a source code, right? Whatever I developed, it will be the source code. So I have to create in such a way that it should be the executable code. So executable code is nothing but the exe file. For better understanding, I'll take a simple example of exe. So if you want to install a software in your laptop, what you will do, you will have the exe only, you won't get the source code. The executable only you will get, and that file you will deploy in your laptop, that is, you will install in your laptop, right? Similarly, the source code should be converted into a executable. That process we call it as build process. So I build the code. Once I build the code, I have to validate the code, whether it is working fine in terms of functionality, whether it is working fine in terms of other testing aspects. So I will do a validation. So this is all done. So if you see different color coding we have used here, this side, these are all managed by the developer. Okay. Once it is all tested, then I will go into the deployment operation monitor cycle. So I will deploy that into different environment, because every project may have a development environment, SIT environment, UAT environment, pilot environment, staging. Different company use different terminologies. Okay, we call it as production and non-production, but in the non-production environment, organization have different stages. Okay, as I told you, it can be dev, SIT, UAT, staging, pilot, different terminologies they will use it. But we have to, the operation person has to deploy in the different environment. At the same time, we have to do the validation, which is nothing but whether the functionality is working fine, whether the performance of the application is good, whether the security is good. So apart from the functionality, we do perform the other testing also. Then we will go into the operation model. Then once the application is all set, we'll go into the monitor. That is, my application is running, I have to monitor the application, that we call it as maintenance phase. So I have to monitor. If it is working fine, well and good. If it is not working fine, what I have to do, I have to go for the monitoring, like what are all the areas I can improve, because I have to gather the information. That is, if a application is working fine also, we will find the room for improvement. So we will collect the feedback either from the customer directly, or from the application logs, or from the infrastructure logs. We will find the room for improvement. Based upon the feedback received, based upon the improvement areas, again the cycle will go. That is, once I do a monitor, once I have the information, I will do a plan, code, and the same cycle will complete. So here this developer and the operation team are working together. There is a overlap, I would say, and that is the one we call it as dev plus operation, which is called DevOps. So DevOps is nothing but it is not only going to be your task, okay, development task or operation task. Ideally, you will be working with different set of people, because each and every block meant for some task. So this is for development team, this is for the testing team, and planning you will have a different design team and all would be there. So you have to collaborate with multiple peoples, and you have some different process for each and every stage, and final your output products. So this DevOps is a combination of all three things: people, process, and product, which will help me to deliver a good product to the end user. So if I'm the if I'm working as a DevOps person for the e-commerce website, who is the end user? The customers who is using the website. So I'm going to deliver a value to the end user. As a DevOps person, I will be doing all this process, and I will meet the business requirement. So development and operations together, we call it as DevOps. Again, we were in a panic that time. Okay, you just think like if you are the person who is very first time seeing the screen, oh, I have to collaborate with people, I have to follow a lot of process, I have to handle product also. This was the question everybody has. But you're not going to do manually all these things. For all these things, we have something called automation. Using the power of the automation, if you set your DevOps cycle pipeline in such a way that it is going to work automatically, here and there some customization will do, but most of the time it will be the first time task would be bit challenge, but over a period of time it will be a automated work only. So we found a lot of tools related to that. Okay, so when the DevOps come into picture, this covers even the on-premises aspect. Okay, so lot of tools we started learning. Okay, so each and every stages I was highlighting here. For a developer, what and all tool we will be using. For the tester, what and all the tools we will be using. For the monitoring purpose, we have tool. For operations, we have tool. So not only the DevOps came into picture, the related tools also came into our activity, and these tools, it made our work easy. The same set of works we were doing manually for so many years, so it is a time consumption process, I would say. Even if you have the script ready with you, the shell script ready with you, you have to be available, you have to do some customization in person to make the deployment work, to notify some people about the deployment failure, and to work with developers, to work with tester, lot of things for manual effort previously. But by using all this DevOps tool, it made our work easy. Everything is automated here, and each tool has their own unique feature which will help us to deliver the product quickly. So the same set of work we were doing prior to DevOps with 3 months of time or 6 months of time, we are able to do the same set of activity in 2 weeks of time or 3 weeks of time. Depend upon the agile sprint cycle your organization is following. Some company following 2 weeks, some company following 4 weeks. So we will be able to do all these things. One important thing I want to tell: nowadays companies are not even following 2 weeks of time. Everyday sprint, there are some organization, I don't want to name it, but there are some organization, it's a very famous organization, they have daily sprint also. Every day they have a deployment, every day they will do a development, they will do a testing, they will validate all the code in the non-production environment, and they will deploy into the production environment using the blue green deployment model. Every day they are pushing one or the other change in their live environment. How they are able to do? By using this DevOps one. So as a DevOps person, what I'll be doing, a developer can also tag them as a DevOps person. A infrastructure administrator or the operation person also can tag them as a DevOps person, because they are going to do the same set of work more or less, and they're going to do. So let me tell in the initial stage how we adopted. So for example, let me take a developer. So far the developer, what they did is they develop their code in their editors, and they check in, we call it as like they commit the code, and they will compile the code. So they have a hard stop there. Though I will compile, the code is working, so my work is over. That's what they do. And they will wait for the availability of the operation team. The operation person might be available on the next day or in the evening time. The developer will be waiting, then the deployment was happening. But once this DevOps model come into picture, what the operation team did is they have created one pipeline. I'm talking about on premises. Okay, so they have created a pipeline using, for example, Jenkins. They have used, they created a pipeline, and they gave the access to the developer and say that once you compile, this is the CI/CD created. Again, you're not going to do anything. Just for your knowledge, they told there is a pipeline created. But what has happened is, whenever the developer commit the change, then it will automatically do the compilation, it will automatically do the deployment, it will do the subsequent testing in terms of functionality, performance, security. Once it is all verified, then it will deploy into the SIT environment. And in the SIT also, we have the pipeline creator. So for regression testing, so if you're using Selenium and all, we have the testing pipeline creator. There the validation will happen, then the code will be promoted to UAT. In UAT also, you have the pipeline created in such a way that it will have the jobs. Okay, in Jenkins we call it as jobs. So one job for functionality testing, one job for performance testing, and all, it's all added. The script will automatically execute functionality. For example, Selenium script was used in the pipeline means, so it will execute automatically. Once the functionality test validator, the regression test is working fine, then it will do the performance testing. So performance testing also it will run, and if it is fine, then it will push the code to the, that is, it will deploy the package into the next environment. So what has happened is, developer as usual is doing his work, but he is not waiting for anybody. He is working on the deployment aspect. So it is going as it is. If in case if there is any problem in the testing, so what will happen? A mail will be triggered to the developer stating that, hey, you have committed a change, but there is a issue with the code which you have committed. So you have to work on it. So now only the developer, what he will do? He will go and check into the logs, and he will find out what is the problem, and he will fix the problem. Again, he will commit the code with the correct change. This time also the same pipeline will execute, and it will do the same process, that is compilation, testing, deployment. So these and all it's going to do. So now what has happened? The developer, he has utilized his time efficiently. Morning he has developed some code, and that code he was able to test. He is not waiting till evening for the availability of the operation team. For example, you are developer from offshore and your operation team is from the onshore, means you're not waiting here. Everything you're doing validation. Previously what has happened? I'll be working from offshore, and my operation team will be on onshore. I will wait for them, they will come, they will do the deployment in the evening, then they will say, hey, there is a problem, then I will sit and I will work. So every day it will delay. But in this model, this DevOps model, once I have the pipeline creator, there is no dependency. Same thing on the other end. Say I'm the operation person. So I came and logged in the evening time, and by the time the developer is not available, he logged off for the day. So I came, I got a note that from the developer, hey, you have to deploy this code. I compiled it. You deploy the code in the so and so environment. They are saying. So operation person, I took the package, I deployed it. The package is not built properly. Some error I'm getting. It's truly a code issue. It is not the environment issue, or it is not related to infrastructure. So what I will do? I will send a mail to the offshore team stating that, hey, tomorrow morning when you come, check it. So I'll be waiting for the fix from the development team. So here also the gap has created, some problem was there. So once the CI/CD pipeline come into picture, what has happened? The developer itself is able to do things. But as an operation person, what I did, I created the pipeline. I created the pipeline and I gave it to the developer. Developer is utilizing it. So now we are jointly working. The development team and operation team are jointly working, which will help me to deliver the product quickly. There is no dependency on other. We can work individually. Even the operation team needs some input from the developer. I don't need to have a code base. Say, for example, some compilation issue, I have to fix it. Operation team, they will wait for the developer. Hey, could you please commit it? Could you please open your editor and do? No, it is not needed. We do, the operation team also have access to the version control. They can open the code, and I'm not going to do development anyhow, the operation person. At least simple code commit, that is a code save. Okay, to be clear, because I had to tell you about the commits and all the git related aspect. For a layman perspective, I will say that I have a file open, and the file I made some change. If I save the file, then only it will be reflect in the shared folder. If I open a file and I modify something and I keep it in my laptop, means the change, it won't reflect in the shared folders. Okay, if I'm taking a file from the shared folder, I'm modifying something, means if I save only, the change whatever I made, it will be reflect into the shared folder. So same thing, we call it as commit. If a developer is taking a code, if he or she is modifying something in the code, if they commit the code, if they check in the code, then only it will be available in the common area for others to use. So for the operation team, if they need, that is prior to the DevOps model, they have to wait for the developer, because operation team doesn't have any information about the coding. So it is truly owned by the developers. So operation team has to wait for the availability of the developer, and they were doing. But now there is no such dependency. We are able to work individually, and it increase the productivity, and it make the quick work to, that is time to market, like easily you can push your code to the market. So this is how we did. Now the next era come into picture. So for this DevOps, I would say like 2008 or 2009 it started, this DevOps terminology. It was that hype and that market, like DevOps came into picture, and we were using for the on premises that time, and slowly the cloud came into picture. So again, the adoption of DevOps for the cloud. So for the cloud, each and every cloud providers nowadays, they are providing the DevOps model. So we were adapting to the DevOps along with the cloud. It can be a Azure DevOps or it can be the AWS DevOps. Now the next era we are in, like these are all settled down, like now everybody aware of DevOps and everybody aware of the cloud. So that is a trend we are all working. We are in the current trend, that is cloud DevOps. The usage of the on-premises DevOps has reduced a lot, because everybody is moving to the cloud now. So I'll tell why we are moving to cloud and all, because after this COVID model, we were came into the concept of work from anywhere, work at any time. So it's not like you have to go to your office, you have to use your desktop for your activity. You can log in from your home on itself. Either you can use a organization provider laptop or your personal laptop, depend upon your organization policy. You can very well continue your business. It doesn't mean that every day you have to visit your office, sit in front of your computer and do it, because that's what the COVID has taught us. After this COVID time, everybody is moving towards the concept of cloud. All the applications, they are all moving to the cloud, because during the COVID time, that was a challenge everybody faced. That is, all the applications are on premises based. That is, it's all available in a single location. We are not able to reach the location because we were not able to go in person. If some issue happened in the data center, some router is not working, some infrastructure is not working, means we cannot go in person and modify it. So then only people thought that, yeah, we can move our application to cloud so that we can access it there is no dependency on the infrastructure and all after this cloud concept. So once the cloud concept available, then the usage of DevOps was moved towards the cloud. Everybody was thinking that I need DevOps, but I will do the DevOps for this cloud. If I'm using a Azure cloud, then for the Azure cloud, how I can adopt, how I can move all the DevOps concept into the cloud itself. So what Azure has done, I've shown on portal, right? Instead of your logging to different application, this, like, let me take few examples here. You have Jira for ticket tracking. So on premises, we are using this Jira, and we have Git. So for this uh, non-cloud thing, we were using Git. That is, I have Git install or Bitbucket install, and I was using it. This is for the code. Like I can have a version control and I can keep my code there. And I have my Jenkins for the CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so I have other tools also for managements. This Docker, so many different independent tools I was using for my activity. Okay, Datadog, Splunk, and all for monitoring purpose I was using. Then what this cloud providers, especially Azure and all, what they did is, why you have to depend on these many tools? Why you have to rely on all these tools? Why you have to log into different portals to do all these things? As a service provider, as the cloud provider, I am providing a single portal. Using the single portal, you can do the same set of activity. You don't need to really log into all these things. So what Azure told, I can give you something called Azure boards. So Azure board will help me to create the tickets managements and all I can do. And for this code management, like why you are going for this Git, I myself is going to give a service called Azure Repo. And for the CI/CD pipeline, you don't need to really look for a tool called Jenkins. Azure itself, that is, as Azure DevOps provider, Azure itself is saying that I can provide you the CI/CD pipeline with the pipeline feature. Same thing on the other tools also. So now what has happened is, I am doing all the activities, this DevOps tools activities, in the Azure DevOps itself. Azure portal itself, I can use it to do all these activities. I don't need to really use a secondary tool for this activity. Same set of activity I have. Again, what they are telling is, there are some exceptional cases. People will say that no, I'm used to this tool for so many years. I Some people have the habit, right? They will say that I'm using for more than 5 years, more than 10 years. So I want to go with this. So yes, Azure, what they are saying is, okay, I understand. You are the person who is more used to these tools. Then you can very well use the tool also. But from the Azure portal itself, you can very well use these tools or use these libraries. We have something called marketplace in Azure. So using that marketplace, you can plug and play. So they are not stopping you. They are not forcing you to adopt yourself to the Azure DevOps concept or Azure portal concept. So all the features are there in the Azure, but if in case if you feel that no, I already have some license or already I'm using it, already my applications are developed by using these tools, means no problem, you can very well use this tool. So both the things they are supporting. So this is how we have. And the next journey would be that next steps what we are evaluating is, which is called DevSecOps. So like DevOps, DevSecOps also, there are some openings related to that, but I would say comparatively DevOps has lot of opening than this DevSecOps, because in your organization, if you need like 20 or 30 DevOps person, they will hardly need one or two DevSecOps persons. So the openings wise, it will be limited. But this is good to know. The DevOps is not, DevSecOps is nothing but you are integrating the security concepts along with your DevOps practices. So that is why we call it as DevSecOps. Sec is nothing but your security. So your development, security, and operations together, we call it as DevSecOps. And next evaluation nowadays, like cloud era. Now the next is, the industry is moving towards a concept called AI. Okay, everywhere you can hear this AI, artificial intelligence, machines learning. So again, I won't say these two are two different concept. Okay, uh, you can very well use the AI ML along with your DevOps, because DevOps means you are doing this automations, right? So even for your automation activity, you can use this AI concept. So now we have something called AI ops, artificial intelligent operations also. So that is also some another opening area, but again limitations are there. So why the limitations are there is, company are not really looking for a separate AI ops person. What they are looking is, they need a DevOps person who is aware of the AI concepts. So that is how they are looking for. So you have something called the use of AI and machine learning in DevOps. So that is how they have. And we have something called serverless computing. So this is the inline thing along with your DevOps. So serverless architecture. So you don't need to really look for a server based architecture. So this is also one of the area in terms of infrastructure. So without needing to manage the infrastructure, you will have a server, but you're not going to manage it. If Azure is going to be your DevOps related aspect means, then Azure itself will have the serverless infrastructure. So that is, they will maintain the server for you. You're only going to use a serverless thing. You're not going to manage the server. Management and all will be done by Azure itself. They are the provider, right? So they will do the management and we will just utilize it and we are going to pay for it. So serverless computing. Next thing is SRE, site reliability engineering. This is again, it's truly on your reliability and scalability, and it is important for the DevOps person so that you can very well use it in your application. Again, there will be a overlapping between the SRE role and the DevOps. So more or less we end up in doing the same work in most of the organization. I didn't see they are recruiting a separate SRE person. They recruit a DevOps person, and the same DevOps person more or less doing this SRE role, because you're also going to do the operation. The only thing is, what are the tools you're going to use and how you are going to debug it. So this is how we have for our activities. So with this, I'm ending today's session and opening for the questions. Please let me know if you have